Off to Pennsylvania now. Election workers continue to count ballots around the clock after the state received an unprecedented amount of mail-in ballots. Let's take a look at where it stands right now. CBS News projects President Trump currently has a lead with 89% of the ballots in, but large numbers of early votes from Democratic strongholds like Philadelphia and Pittsburgh are still being processed. So for more on this, let us bring in CBS News campaign reporter Zak Hudak to talk a little bit more about the state of things in Pennsylvania. And like both campaigns were focused on Pennsylvania in those final 2 weeks. I don't know how many stops they made throughout Pennsylvania, but it was just sort of back and forth, back and forth. So more than 3 million people requested mail-in ballots in the state. It's the first time Pennsylvania has allowed for early voting without a reason. How many ballots are still being counted? And when are we possibly expecting them to finish counting?
Anne-Marie, there are about 750,000 ballots that have been received by elections offices that are still being counted. That doesn't take into consideration ballots that, unless the Supreme Court says otherwise, will still be accepted until tomorrow. But the latest we've gotten on that is that it'll likely be by tomorrow, and we have the majority of those ballots counted. Late last night, the Secretary of State actually sort of gave hope that maybe it would come a little bit sooner than that. We don't know exactly what that means, if that could be sometime later today, but there are certainly still a lot of ballots still remaining, 750,000.
So both candidates campaigned, as we mentioned, furiously in the state, all trying to grab those 20 electoral votes. They both are expressing confidence that they could win this vote. And when you look at the population in Pennsylvania, you can sort of see why they would do that. Can you kind of break it down for us, the parts of the state that lean Republican versus Democrat? Because large swaths of the state lean Republican, but there's some high population areas that lean in the other direction.
Well, you have Allegheny County, where Pittsburgh is, and Philadelphia on two ends of the state, and those are the most populous places. They are both very Democratic. In between, the vast majority of the counties are Republican. You have Erie up in the far northeastern corner, which was historically Democratic, but last election cycle, Donald Trump flipped it there. There used to be some pockets of blue in the northeast, and they have been dwindling away, but something notable, Lackawanna County, which is where Joe Biden's hometown of Scranton is, that historically has been blue, and it was blue in 2016, but it went almost for Donald Trump. It had gone to Barack Obama by 30 points, more than 30 points 4 years before, but Donald Trump came within striking distance of Hillary Clinton there. Joe Biden is up there by, the latest is 9 points. Hillary Clinton won only by about 3.5 points there. And the other place that's particularly notable is the suburbs of Philadelphia, which traditionally were red and have been moving bluer and bluer in recent years, notably Chester County, which was the last collar county of Philadelphia to flip over, and that came in 2016.
So my next question is to ask you about the mood of people here in Pennsylvania, but it's sort of odd because I live here. I feel like I should ask the question to myself, what's the mood? Lots of anxiety. But I live in Philadelphia. As you mentioned, Philadelphia is sort of a bit of a bubble compared to the rest of the state. So you've been out and about. What are you hearing from voters? How do voters feel about how things are unfolding? There have been some protests.
That's right, and I can tell you people are a bit concerned, just not knowing. I've got a number of voters in this state who I just text with on a regular basis and will tell me when they have concerns. They've just sort of been saying, this is really taking a long time. And some of them, particularly on the Democratic side, have long been aware that it was going to take a long time, but it's still just a little bit unnerving. Here in Dauphin County, in Harrisburg, where I am right now, this is a blue county, but Democrats are feeling particularly good here because it went from being +5 for Democrats to +8 so far. It is very blue in the city of Harrisburg and pretty red in the rural outskirts of it.
Yeah, that is a pretty good snapshot. We talked about this a little bit earlier in the show, but I want to revisit it. What can you tell us about the lawsuit that the Trump campaign has filed here in the state?
Well, there are actually several. In fact, probably the biggest one is before the U.S. Supreme Court, and that is an attempt to halt a extension for the acceptance of mail-in ballots until tomorrow, until Friday. It came from the state Supreme Court, the extension, because there had been mail delivery delays here. And the appeal actually came from Republicans in the state, but the Trump campaign yesterday joined in and is now part of that suit. And what's particularly interesting on that is there is a good chance that Amy Coney Barrett could be rolling on it. She previously in this case has stayed out of it when there was a smaller ruling last week, but that could really change how things go. For reference, in the primary, over 100,000 ballots came in after Election Day. It looks like more than double as many people were voting in this election, and we are talking about a state that was won last time by about 44,000 votes. So the results of that could be case could be significant. Then down the street from me, just about half a block here, there are two appeals that the Trump campaign has in the Commonwealth Court. One is trying to get more access for poll watchers in Philadelphia, and the other is about procedures that a county did to allow people to remedy mistakes on mail-in ballots, and they're trying to get those ballots thrown out.
Right, a number of cases there, which means that finding out the final vote in Pennsylvania may take a while, which is why some of these other states have become extremely important when in this election. Zach, thank you so much.